Hello and welcome back to No BS. Today we return to talking about former actress turned activist named Alyssa Milano. Alyssa Milano has been getting involved in politics a lot recently, particularly since the last election in 2016. She was a formerly popular actress who used to be very pretty in the mid-2000s. She was on a popular show called Charmed, where she played a witch and also was known for flaunting her goods, if you know what I mean. She was the pretty girl and was basically on the show because she's good looking. And there's nothing wrong with that. I like watching some pretty girls myself. I've seen that show before. It was fine. It was pretty entertaining. But the fact that she thinks now she's some kind of political expert is rather ridiculous. It's rather silly. And she tries to push it so hard. Like she has this audience that she gained from being an actress, and she's trying to spin it off into making people vote for Democrats and like follow these terrible policies. She's even like shown up at court hearings and done demonstrations. She has a profile picture on her Twitter with like a megaphone acting like she's like saving the world now, but she's not. She's just stroking her ego, trying to do something like she thinks is meaningful with her life, because probably she realized she made a lot of dumb crap on TV and back in the day, and now she's like, what do I do with myself? Like obviously she's hit the wall. Her looks are fading. She's trying to get another thing going. And that's what we're talking about today. Today, we're talking about Alyssa Milano apparently has a podcast. I've never heard of it. I didn't even know it existed, but I did find out because of this tweet. This tweet gives us a lot of information. It's really funny. It says, "We live in a world where Joe Rogan's podcast has triple the listeners as mine. Dear God." Now, this is ridiculous for a number of reasons. Not just what I said before. Like I already kind of built it up and showed you who Alyssa Milano was and how she got famous. So the fact that she now thinks she can all of a sudden have a popular podcast is really silly to me. Like I said, she's known for her looks. She's a pretty girl who got put on TV for being good looking. And now she has this audio-based podcast, basically like a radio show. I haven't seen any video forms of it. I don't know if she has a YouTube for it yet, but she is promoting it as a podcast. She has links to it on iTunes, and it's just an audio format. So it really doesn't make sense. It's kind of like, what is your strengths, lady? Like, use your strengths. Like, you should at least make a video podcast. Remember to show plenty of cleavage and wear all your makeup, because that's what you're famous for. Like, you're not famous for talking or having great opinions or having interesting conversations. And you're nowhere near close to being as entertaining as Joe Rogan. Let's talk about Joe Rogan for a minute. I mean, why is his podcast 3 times as popular as Alyssa Milano's? I mean, it's not only the fact that he has one of the biggest podcasts there are out there. He's been around for decades doing this show for at least 10 years that I know of. He's been doing this podcast for a really long time, and he has great guests on it. He has a great performance himself. He has a funny voice. He cracks jokes with his friends. He has interesting conversations too. Like, there are a lot of good reasons why he is beating out Alyssa Milano. I mean, for another reason, it's like Joe is famous for being funny. He's not about his looks. He has a video version of his podcast. It was put on YouTube for a long time. I think now he's switching over to Spotify or something like that. But the point is, Joe is a funny guy. He could work with the audio medium. It doesn't matter what he looks like. He's just known for telling jokes and being a host on some TV shows. Sure, you see him a lot of times too. He's kind of famous for being on TV, but yeah, he's just a funny guy. He has great guests. He has interesting conversations. He's also not too preachy. So let's get into the politics side of this. Like, Joe has some political stuff. He talks about issues. He's kind of like a middle to left leaning kind of guy. And he has people on the other side of the aisle too. He has plenty of conservative guests and all kinds of variety of guests. And the point is, though, Joe Rogan has interesting conversations. And when he gets political, you want to hear it. But he also talks about other stuff. He has sports podcast. He talks about comedy, TV shows, like the earth, science, like all kinds of stuff. And it's just interesting. It's fun to watch. And the fact that Alyssa Milano thinks she even compares is totally ridiculous. I mean, like we said about her before, not only is she in a medium that doesn't fit her, she's also talking about stuff like above her pay grade. She has nothing to do with politics. I don't know why she thinks acting translates to politics, but it doesn't, because she's just some pretty girl who's over the hill. You know, her looks are fading, and she's trying to be this like famous person on a podcast. It's just totally silly and outrageous. And the fact that she even thinks she could compete with Joe Rogan is rather hubris. It's a big hubris of hers. Next, she tweets, and we have to publicly profess our support of other women by posting black and white selfies on IG when even the idea suggests that women don't support each other to begin with. Not sure what she means there. Donald Trump is the worst. Hello. What is he going to do between the time he loses and Biden is sworn in? He will still be in power. We are still... Okay, so she's cursing again. She's got a really crass attitude. And yeah, she's apparently venting here. I think this happened last night. And she just thinks she's comparing to Joe Rogan. And I think it's rather silly. Like we said, I mean, she's not known for her sense of humor or her jokes. She's known for being pretty girl on a show where she played a witch. And now all of a sudden she thinks she's like political activist lady. So with that said, I want to go ahead and check out some of the podcast. I want to check out what's going on here, seeing if it's any good, seeing if maybe we're wrong. Maybe it could be something interesting, you know, maybe it could be fun to watch. It's called Alyssa Milano, Sorry Not Sorry, Piece by Piece Productions. It has a pretty middle ground rating, and let's see what some of the topics are before we check it. So we got femicide and the forgotten women of Juarez, abolition, defund the police, Eliza Orland's Amazing Race, military sexual trauma, talking the Trump apocalypse with anti-Trump conservative, democracy in one episode or less with David Litt. So looking very woke, like very political, nothing like fun here or cool, you know, like Joe Rogan will have like a good comic on once in a while, Kevin Hart or something like really cool. He'll also have like YouTubers and a different variety. And believe me, I'm not trying to compare them, but she brings it up. So I'm trying to say, hey, this is why Joe Rogan's good. This is why no one watches you. You know, we've seen Joe Rogan show clips before. We've seen that it's a lot of fun. We've covered him extensively. And now we're going to see what Alyssa Milano has to say. Let's check out this latest episode.
Hello, podcast people. Are you subscribed to Spotify yet? I am, and I love it so much. Spotify has a huge catalog of my favorite podcasts on every topic, including mine. When you download Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcast so you never miss an episode. Premium users can download episodes to listen to offline wherever you are, and you can easily share what you're listening to with your friends on Instagram.
So this is an introductory promo, and, you know, not much to say there, but it is a little forced. Like she's reading a script. You could tell she's trying to get some enthusiasm in there, and it's just really cringy to me already. I mean, she's got a okay voice, nothing special really. I mean, you could tell she's had some acting lessons. She's definitely, you know, she's got that training and experience with speaking. But as we said before, I think from the beginning, from the first judgment, this podcast would do 10 times better if she just had a video. I mean, she's not as pretty as she used to be, but just having the camera and having her and maybe another pretty girl on there, she could do better.
You're digging through sand.
Just across the bridge from El Paso, Texas, hundreds of young women have been turning up dead in Juarez, Mexico. Many are discovered in mass graves. Some have strange symbols carved on their bodies. Some have their hands bound with shoelaces. And everyone from the families of the victims to the United States FBI has tried to uncover who is behind these crimes. But one thing is clear. The crimes are connected. There were
pretty dramatic. I'm getting like a This American Life kind of vibe, like that kind of like serious radio show with these dramatic voices, background music. I guess she's telling this story before they discuss it. That's another person, obviously, on the podcast. But yeah, I can already see the differences are very, very vast. I mean, she wants people to watch this show, and it's really dark, like sad stories about murder and people dying. And yeah, I guess that's important. We want to bring that up. I'm not saying there isn't someone that could be interested in this. This could have an audience, I'm sure. But are you really going to turn to Alyssa Milano for this stuff? Like Alyssa Milano, she is just totally useless. I don't get where she gets all this confidence from. I know she's rich. I know she's married to some rich agent in Hollywood. She thinks she's really, really important. But I mean, seriously, what is going on?
Ever since. How is it possible these crimes remain unsolved?
For robust
into why you felt it was important to do the podcast.
I first started working on this podcast after several trips to the Texas-Mexico border, specifically El Paso in Texas and Juarez in Mexico. And it took me several trips before I learned something that everybody in the region knows, which is that since the early 1990s, hundreds of women have turned up dead in Juarez.
Can you say that any more dramatic? I mean, it is a dramatic thing. Obviously, Mexico has a lot of crime and problems, and I feel bad for them. I wish they could fix it, and I wish they could do better. I'm not sure how much we can help. We have problems of our own. I'm not trying to be selfish, but it's just the fact of the matter. We got to take care of our own country first. We've got hundreds, if not thousands, of problems to deal with. We've got riots in the streets, election issues, biased government, biased news agencies, social media, it's big tech. So to think that we could handle the problems of Mexico, I don't know what Alyssa's going for here. She seems like the activist type. She seems like she's probably going to call for donations or donate herself to this cause. And that's fine. I mean, if that's what she wants to do, if this is the kind of podcast she wants, that's interesting. That's cool. But she shouldn't be surprised that she's getting crappy ratings. I mean, are you going to want to hear about this story about Juarez and girls dying there? Or are you going to want to watch Joe Rogan talk to a flat earther? I mean, that's the kind of show she's competing with. That's who she's herself comparing herself to. She thinks she deserves the audience of Joe Rogan, but she's delivering shows for like very niche audiences. Like people are not as interested in politics and sad stories as Alyssa Milano thinks. This is just going to show she doesn't know what the American people are interested in. She doesn't understand audiences and entertainment and just the whole gist here. Like a podcast, sure, a lot of them are specific and you want to have like a kind of niche for yourself. You want to say, hey, we cover movies made by Christopher Nolan, or hey, we're a video game podcast about the PlayStation 2. Like it's good to have specifics, but you got to pick something with a wider audience if you want a big gathering like with Joe Rogan. I mean, Joe Rogan knows what he's doing. He's been at it for a long time too. Like, I don't think that this show that she has here has been on for very long. It just says 74 episodes here. So I don't know. I would guess it's been maybe a couple years at the most. I can't really get to all the episodes, show 10 more episodes. There's no easy way to trace it all back right away. But the point is, Rogan is a baller. He knows what he's doing. He's been entertaining people for decades. Alyssa Milano is someone who was pretty once back in the day, and she got a lot of attention for it, but now her looks are waning and she's kind of bitter about it, and that's why she's lashing out and trying to kind of complain and feel entitled in public. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Also hit that like button to get this video shared, and until next time, have a great day.